When generative AI first broke into the mainstream, it was pitched as a frictionless miracle. Tech leaders sold a vision of flawless software that would elevate human potential, handle the drudgery of daily tasks, and leave us free to create. But the honeymoon is over. Across social media and the working class, public sentiment has rapidly deteriorated, driving what analysts are calling the AI vibe shift. This sentiment physically manifested on picket lines during the SAG-AFTRA strike, where actors and writers organized to protect their livelihoods from being digitized and replicated by studios without consent. This line graph tracks a metric known as FOBO, the fear of becoming obsolete. Among the broader workforce, this specific anxiety has spiked, climbing from 15 to 22% in just 2 years. A technology explicitly designed to empower humanity is now actively threatening the economic security of the working class. And that threat has triggered a massive organized societal revolt. To understand the intensity of this backlash, we have to look at the sheer velocity of the rollout. Historically, sweeping technological changes, like the personal computer or the internet, took decades to fully permeate our daily lives. This comparative chart shows generative AI achieving 53% adoption in 3 years, eclipsing the PC and early web. Superimposing corporate spending reveals a massive financial rush. By 2025, global AI investment more than doubled, concentrating capital into a handful of firms. Enterprise buyers and executives justified the spending spree with a clear promise. They claimed these new models would save countless hours, augment human capabilities, and dramatically boost overall productivity. Yet, for the average user, those lofty benefits have failed to materialize. The gap between the explosive financial boom at the top and the stagnant reality on the ground has created a volatile vacuum of unmet expectations. The first major battleground of this backlash is the labor market itself. By May 2026, tech sector layoffs crossed 115,000 jobs, with a significant portion of companies explicitly citing AI as the reason for the cuts. This demographic visualization highlights how these reductions are disproportionately erasing entry-level pipelines. Employment for junior software developers, specifically those aged 22 to 25, has plummeted by 20%. While these entry-level roles disappear, tech CEOs continue making optimistic public statements, insisting that AI will generate entirely new categories of high-paying jobs to replace the ones lost. However, recent analysis from MIT reveals a different reality. The report shows that corporations are actively using AI as a convenient catch-all excuse to mask broader corporate restructuring, correct their own overhiring mistakes, and cut costs. Corporate leadership has weaponized AI as a convenient mask for standard economic exploitation, systematically shrinking entry-level pipelines for the next generation. Away from the corporate office, the second front of the backlash is playing out across the digital information ecosystem and the broader creative economy. Users are being bombarded by AI slop. Platforms are flooded with low-quality, repetitive, synthetic content generated at near zero cost, saturating our feeds with digital noise. This continuous exposure to synthetic garbage is actively eroding consumer trust. When people cannot tell if a review, an article, or an image is real, the basic utility of the internet breaks down.
Meanwhile, the creative class is pushing back. Artists and writers are organizing protests because generative models are trained directly on their uncompensated labor, absorbing their specific styles in order to eventually replace them. The revolt online is a human fight for quality, authenticity, and fair compensation. Users and creators alike are rejecting a digital ecosystem overrun by cheap, mass-produced synthetic output. To dismiss these protests, tech executives often point to a specific historical parallel. They label anyone who criticizes artificial intelligence as a modern-day Luddite. But that label misrepresents history. The original 19th century Luddites were not ignorant technophobes. They were highly skilled artisans who smashed factory looms because the owners used that new machinery to bypass labor regulations and drastically degrade working conditions. Today's anti-AI demonstrators are engaged in the exact same struggle. They are staging a rational fight against the devaluation of their specialized skills and the exploitation of their labor. Even foundational pioneers of the technology acknowledge these severe risks. Prominent researchers, often referred to as the godfathers of AI, have publicly warned that the technology is positioned to replace massive segments of the workforce.
This organized resistance represents a rational, highly educated defense against a new system of economic extraction, currently disguised as inevitable progress. The third and final front of this backlash moves beyond screens and software. It strikes at the physical world and at the concept of truth itself. Security analysts call it the liar's dividend. As deepfakes become indistinguishable from reality, they collapse our trust in visual proof. Now, bad actors can easily dismiss actual factual evidence by simply claiming it was generated by an algorithm. Generating all of this synthetic content requires immense physical infrastructure. Powering these models demands thousands of hyperscale data centers filled with massive server racks. This physical footprint has sparked localized protests across the United States. Everyday Americans are actively fighting the construction of these server farms, arguing they drain millions of gallons from local water supplies and severely strain regional power grids. The true cost of this technology is extracting tangible resources from local communities. The digital revolution has forced a very real, very physical collision with the environment. We are approaching a critical threshold. Autonomous AI agents are rapidly achieving near-perfect success rates on complex tasks, closing the window for governments to establish meaningful regulatory guardrails. This economic model illustrates what experts warn is a slide into techno-feudalism. In this scenario, a handful of tech oligarchs consolidate all capital and the means of automation at the very top, while the broader public fights over a shrinking pool of compressed wages. But an alternative reality is taking shape. Through localized resource protests, massive labor strikes, and demands for algorithmic transparency, humans are actively reclaiming their agency. This widespread backlash proves that society still demands authenticity, fairness, and a voice in how it works. The future will not be dictated solely by what a machine is capable of doing, but by how we choose to respond to it.